Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Yevamot page 90, which continues to discuss the question, when the Torah has a specific law, do the rabbis have the authority to be able to change the law and to be able to be more strict? And the rule is that when it comes to something called a shev al taseh, they are allowed to. So for example, when it comes to a Torah law that a person is supposed to shake a lulav on Sukkot or to hear the sounds of the shofar in Rosh Hashanah. Now, according to Torah law, that means even if it is Shabbat. But the rabbis were concerned that a person may end up carrying these items in a public thoroughfare, the amount of 4 cubits, and by doing that, they have actually violated the Shabbat. So in that situation, they have the authority to say this. Why? Because even though it's a Torah law, they're not telling you to violate anything. They're telling you just to sit and not do anything. They're saying, just sit and don't shake the lulav and etrog. Sit here and don't blow the shofar. That much they're allowed to do. But for them to go and say, I want you to actively violate a Torah law or to go against something that the Torah says, that they normally do not have the authorization. However, there are times in history where it's allowed. For example, as there was a discussion between Achav, Jezebel, and Eliyahu, he went to Mount Carmel and he built an altar, he built a bama, and he brought sacrifices. And as it's discussed, there was a fire that came from the heavens and it consumed this sacrifice, which proved that God Almighty is the powerful God and that their idols of Baal have no power or validity whatsoever. Now, technically, he wasn't allowed to do that because it was a time in which building private altars was forbidden. However, in that situation, in this one time, in order to be able to make this very important statement historically, to show that this form of idol worship is not acceptable, they were even allowed to do something even though it was in violation of the Torah. However, it's only under those certain circumstances. The Talmud here also talks about when it comes to the times of the Greeks, in which they had many restrictions of religious practice. During that time as well, the Jewish courts were extremely careful to make sure that Torah observance was fulfilled properly. And under those situations as well, they were allowed to have those exceptions. However, otherwise, the rabbis are very, very careful when they're allowed to make certain laws, and that they would not be able to do it to violate a Torah law. And even in order to be able to show some strength and to support it, they have to be very careful at what time it is allowed to be done.